Okay. I had such fun getting ready for this talk. I gotta tell you. Most of the fun I had is not in the talk. But that's okay, because I did, you know me, I am such a total goober. I did a ton of research into solstice. And then I decided to find out what was the difference between solstice and equinox. So literally I spent like a half an hour on YouTube taking star charts and figuring out angles of the earth. And you are so lucky that I don't have that with me. Because you'd be thinking, when is the test? But I had a great time. Okay, so we're in the middle of the holiday season. How's everything going? And feel free to shout out. We're a small group, we're intimate. And also welcome to those who are online watching. Glad to see you. I am so glad you're joining us, and I hope you enjoy being with us. So, is your holiday season restful?
No.
Is it calm?
No.
Is it contemplative?
Yes.
Not so much. Also, you got to remind me if my necklace is not going off. Thank you to Gay for the necklace. Okay. Anyway, if your holiday is like mine, it is crazy busy. What is that about? We have family coming into town. We have shopping. My brother used to have this great tradition. He would do all his Christmas shopping on Christmas Eve. I think that is a great idea. Because up until then, we can just be quiet here. Tim is like, yes. Marina, don't let that worry you. Okay. We can just kind of calm down until then. But anyway, it is nuts. We have family, we have shopping, we have decorating. I swear, in my house, we have this tree. For the last couple of years, we have had a fake tree. A faux tree, if you will. And so this year I got the white box out, and I was just so overcome with the notion of putting up this tree. So I almost took the white box, put it on end, and stuck an angel on the top. And said, ho, ho, ho. You know, but I realized the kids would not be behind that, so I actually did set up the tree. But it's not like our jobs stop. It's not like our year-end deadlines stop. None of that stops. It all just kind of gets piled on. If you're like me, this season for you is anything but restful. Many of you know that years ago I was in the Navy. When I was in Navy training, we had to go do sports every Saturday. None of us wanted to, because we were very busy during the week, but we had to get up and go out and do sports. We called it mandatory fun. And that phrase just came to mind. Do any of you feel like this season for you is turning into mandatory fun? Yes, I see some smiles out there. Okay, but we are in the season of winter. We are in the season of solstice. And it shouts for us to slow down. It invites us all around to slow down. The season is cold, it is dark, it is still, and there's a different quality of the silence in the winter. Have you noticed that? The summer can be quiet, but the winter quiet is so deep, it's so enveloping, it's so welcoming. It's just so still. It kind of just, for me, it just sucks me in. Solstice extends an invitation to us to slow down, to pause, to stop pushing, to stop reaching, to just slow down. It asks us to sit in the not yet, doesn't it? The light is coming, but not yet. Solstice, this winter solstice period, puts us in the not yet. The winter solstice is the longest night of the year and the shortest day of the year. It's the longest stretch of darkness and the shortest stretch of daytime. Okay, technically, because this is me, I am bringing a bit of my video in here. The winter solstice occurs when the North Pole's axis is at a 23.5 degree tilt away from the sun. If anybody wants a picture of this, see me after the service. Remember, this is so cool. 23.5% away from the sun. I actually watched a video of the Earth spinning around the sun. It was way fun. It is the furthest reach for the Earth. Aja is laughing. It's like, where did we get this person? It's the furthest tilt of the Earth's axis away from the sun here in the northern hemisphere. Here in Atlanta, the exact time of the winter solstice. Does anybody know the exact time of the winter solstice in Atlanta this year? Susan is like, I'll never get this 20 minutes back. It is Thursday, December 21st at 11:48 a.m. Seriously, 11:48 a.m. Yes, the 21st. The word solstice itself comes from the Latin, sol meaning sun, sistere meaning to stand still. The sun obviously doesn't literally stop, But from the Earth's perspective, at that time it seems to stop. Because, and I'm now telling you everything I know about astronomy, the sun's declination stands still. The seasonal movement of the sun's daily path stops at a northern or a southern point until it seems to reverse and come back. To the ancients, it looked like the sun stood still. Hence the word solstice. So, the holiday of solstice has been celebrated, Babante is laughing. The holiday of solstice has been celebrated for thousands of years. Ancient cultures celebrated the rebirth of the sun because they weren't sure it was coming back. So you had to hold vigil, you had to have songs, you had to have feasts just to tempt the sun to come back. The celebration of the return of the light. These festivals frequently lasted for several days with feasting and music and dance. It sounded way fun. The most famous festival of the winter solstice nowadays is where?
Oktoberfest.
Stonehenge! Stonehenge in Salisbury, England. December 22nd at 8 a.m., Druids, pagans, Wiccans, everybody shows up. It's one of the only times they allow you on the Stonehenge grounds itself to watch the sun come up, because Stonehenge, which I think they're telling us was begun 5000 BC, is situated so that when the sun rises in the winter solstice, it comes immediately through the stones. It is an amazing thing. I have never done it, but if you have a bucket list, it might be a cool thing to put on. Anyway, nowadays that is the most famous celebration of the winter solstice. So at this time of year also Christians celebrate Christmas. Now what do we know about Christmas? We know that the roots of Christmas run deep in pagan celebrations, don't we? Red and green, pagan colors, celebrating the evergreen, the holly, the mistletoe. In the 2nd century, the Roman Emperor Aurelian established December 25th as the birthday of Sol Invicta, the invincible sun, as part of the Roman winter solstice celebrations. In 273, the growing Christian church, which was trying to find a foothold somewhere, took that day and turned it into the birthday of Jesus. So what did they do? They say, okay, you pagans go ahead and have your Saturnalia, have your Roman solstice celebration. We're going to call it Christmas. And you all are going to celebrate the birth of Jesus. They were like, yeah, whatever. Of course, they went on drinking and running naked in the streets and carousing, but it was okay to call that Christmas. Whatever, as long as we can continue to have our holiday. So it's still the celebration of the darkness turning into the light. In pre-Christian Scandinavia, the holiday of Jul, J-U-L, which is also Yule, Y-U-L-E, lasted 12 days and gave us the tradition of the Yule log. Has anybody here ever used a Yule log? Yeah. Isn't the tradition with a Yule log, if you have the opportunity to do this, lighting it up and rolling it down a hill? How fun is that? Yeah. The 12 days of Christmas, the 12 days of Yule. You draw your own conclusions. Okay. So, what can we take away from this time of solstice? What we learn is that faith traditions, pre-Christian, post-Christian, non-Christian, celebrate the darkness and the coming of the light in this time of year in the northern hemisphere. What we learn as we celebrate the darkness and we look toward the light is that we gain as much by leaning into the darkness as we do by focusing on the light. In this time of year, we are so often focused on the coming of the light. The light is coming. We think we're going through a period where nothing's going on. But we are so wrong. The winter is a time when so much is going on. The winter is a time that brings us renewal, new life, and it is a time to honor the darkness. We learn that a return to the light does not mean a rejection of the darkness. So that's what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about what we learn from the darkness, because sometimes in this season we can be so relentlessly focused on waiting for the light. We miss the gift that is right in front of us. The ancient civilizations that celebrated solstice, they lived so much closer to the turn of the seasons than we do, didn't they? Maybe they learned that the turn of the season, what the ancient Celts called the Great Round, parallels the flow of the seasons in our own lives. Isn't that a great image, the Great Round? I love that. It parallels how the seasons work in our own lives. We all have seasons of light, we all have seasons of darkness, and they are necessary for one to support the other. We have times when we burst forth in joy, we have times when we are quiet and still and waiting and just quiet. And that is a natural flow. In our modern world, it seems that we have done everything to insulate ourselves from the seasons, doesn't it? What do? When it's winter, we heat our homes. When it's summer, we cool our homes. When we are going from point A to point B, we drive around in hermetically sealed cars. How many of you have been in an office lately where you can, God forbid, open the window? Not me. No. I mean, I don't even open the window in my house. I mean, how often do we interact with the seasons? For me, the major time I interact with the seasons goes like this. Alexa, what's the temperature today? Seriously. And why do I do it? Not because I'm going to go out and plant something. I do it because I want to know if I need a coat or an umbrella. That's it. That's as close as we get. Not so much, they lived in it. The ancients lived in it. When they wanted to go from A to B, they walked. Whether it was raining, whether it was cold, their journey involved that cycle. Their journey involved those elements. The season of winter gives us so much that we so easily miss because we're so busy not being cold, not being snowed on. It invites us to sit, to listen, to wait in the deep silence. We are so lucky that we have this season. I've spoken before about Benedictine nun Sister Joan Chittister, who's a progressive Christian writer whom I really enjoy. She writes about the solstice season of Advent, because Advent and solstice are very similar. We're sitting in both of them. We're both waiting for the light, and progressive Christian writers talk about Advent also as a time of waiting, as a time of gestation, as a very active time of preparation and waiting to birth the light within ourselves. She writes about the season of Advent. And winter, she writes, winter is a lesson about the fine art of loss and growth. Its lesson is clear. There is only one way out of struggle, and that is by going into its darkness, waiting for the light and being open to new growth. Think about that. Going into the darkness, being open to it, and waiting for new growth. Winter is the season that teaches us to wait for what is beyond the obvious, she writes. It teaches us to wait for what is beyond the obvious, for what is past the apparent. It teaches us to wait, to sit in that creative darkness for whatever comes next. Not yet. For whatever comes next. There's no rushing through it. Our time of darkness is not a time to avoid, to get through, to go around, but it's part of our journey that we have to stay fully engaged in. We have to be present in all the time, because that's the only way we can go through it. It is a wonderful gift for us here that we have a physical time of darkness, of stillness, of cold, to remind ourselves that our lives have that season, that it is something that we go through. I was getting ready for this and I thought, how do people in Florida and California do it? Because they don't have the gift that we have. We have a reminder that there are times to just be still. And also, weren't we kind of reminded just recently with a 2x4 up the side of the head? Yes, the great snow of 2017, right? If you were like me, you lost power. Okay, we're sitting there. Nick is watching his iPad. Catherine's doing whatever. I'm doing it. Wham! There it goes. We're sitting in the dark. Okay, so what do? Do you bemoan the fact that you don't have Wi-Fi? Or do you take the opportunity to sit and breathe and just be with the darkness and the quiet and the stillness? I'm not going to fill you in on what I did. But if that happens again, use it for that time. Instead of bemoaning the loss of your electronics, we can take it as a time to just sit and be still. Because there's a different quality to the silence in winter if we pay attention. It renews us, enriches us. It is not yet time for the light. It's coming, but it's not here yet. So what do? We sit, we listen to our own inner wisdom, we listen to our intuition. We ask ourselves, when the light comes, when my light comes, what is it going to look like? What will I shine it on this year? This is our chance to ask ourselves those questions, to think about those things. When we wait and we listen to that voice within, we listen to that creative silence, what we also find is that the light that is coming is a light that we are generating. Another mistake so many of us make in Advent or in Solstice or in this time of the year is we think that the light is coming to us like a FedEx delivery. You know, we're going to wait, the light is coming, ding, here's the light. No, the light is what we generate. The light is what we create. But we go through the darkness to do it. We need those seasons to be able to rebirth that light in ourselves that we can shine fully when it is time for it to shine. Our periods of darkness are necessary for us to awaken and shine all the brighter. The solstice, the winter, is a necessary time. So when I was growing up, you tell me if you had these two, we had Advent calendars. Did everybody else have Advent calendars? I see people nodding. Our grandparents would give us these really cool Advent calendars. And they were a nativity scene or some sort of scene. And every day we would open up a little door and there would be something else that filled in the scene. It would be a cow. It would be Mary. It would be something. I never opened a door ahead, even though I am the kind of person who reads the ends of all books first. But I never opened the door ahead because that's just not what you do. And what did the Advent calendar teach us? Of course, you don't realize this now, but in thinking about this, what did I learn? I learned that you had to wait. I learned that you got a little bit at a time before the whole picture was filled in. That every bit was a wonderful gift, but it wasn't the whole picture. You had to wait. Sometimes we don't want to wait, but sometimes we have to until we get the whole picture. And sometimes the gift is in the waiting. Those calendars taught us little lessons in patience, discovery, and just wonder. And it would not have been the same if I got the Advent calendar and opened them all on the same day. Right? Because the gift is in the waiting. Winter is also deceptive. We look around and we perceive, what do we see when we look out the window? It's all dead, right? It's inert. Nothing is happening. Nothing could be farther from the truth. When we look out and we see no flowers, we see nothing moving, there is life preparing to be born, if only we can see it. Nature is gathering its resources, it is resting, it is preparing to regenerate. Thomas Merton wrote, "Love winter when the plant says nothing." Think about that. Love winter when the plant says nothing. We are looking at that plant and we are thinking it is saying nothing. It is. It is speaking to us of imminent growth, that in the spring it's going to be beautiful, it's going to flower, it's going to burst forth. It is telling us that now. We don't have to wait until it happens. We can look at it and we can just see, we can know, we can appreciate that it is telling us something. One of the books I used in preparation for this talk is this one. It's called The Circle of Life, The Heart's Journey Through the Seasons. And it's by Joyce Rupp and Macrina Wiederkehr. It is a really cool book. What it does is it tells us how the round of the seasons parallels the flow in our own life. Summer, spring, winter, fall. We all have those seasons. And it just has a wonderful way of analogizing the flow of nature to the flow in our own lives. They had a line that I love. She wrote, "The seed in the ground does not curse the darkness." Isn't that great? The seed in the ground does not curse the darkness. The seed in the ground does not say, "Damn, I should be an oak tree right now." No, because it knows it needs to sit. It needs to germinate. It needs to wait. It is not yet ready. And neither do we curse the darkness, because we are not yet ready. This is a time of preparation, of renewal and regeneration. We do not avoid the darkness, and without it we cannot get to the season of the light. The seasons are going to pass, each one flowing from the other, and each one is dependent on the one before. Our light that we shine is dependent on the darkness we go through in order to be able to shine it. The seed falls and a plant grows. A plant dies and its compost nourishes the next growth. Life and death, light and darkness are partners in the great round of life. They are partners in our lives. Life is not a race from light to light, from joy to joy, from hilltop to hilltop, even though I personally would love it if it were, because that would be so much fun, but it's not. If we cannot sit in our darkness, be without judgment and without fear, be with that still but creative, dark energy, we do not grow. Even though we comfort ourselves by hoping that nothing changes. How many of you out there hope nothing changes? I do. We said, God, I hope this doesn't go away. I hope this doesn't change. We are on a non-stop journey of becoming. And the solstice message is that there are seasons to that becoming. There are seasons to our becoming. There are seasons of light and there are seasons of darkness. The light will come, but the darkness comes first. Pagan author T. Thorne Coyle wrote about the solstice in terms of celebration. We may light candles or dance around bonfires. We may share festive meals, sing, or pray. He says they may hold vigil, waiting for the sun to come back. Something in us needs to know that at the end of the longest night, there will be light. After the longest night, we sing up the dawn. Isn't that great? After the longest night, we sing up the dawn. We summon it, we celebrate it. There is a rejoicing that even in the darkest time, the sun is not vanquished. Sol Invictus. He wrote this in 2012. Emperor Aurelian was talking about Sol Invictus. I mean, think about that. That is pretty cool. Sol Invictus, the unconquered sun, is seen once again, staining the horizon with the promise of hope and brilliance. After the darkness comes the light. The solstice celebrates that our periods of darkness are always followed by the light. The periods of darkness in our lives are always followed by the light. So in the past, I have heard speakers give messages, a lot of them are New Thought speakers, about how to deal with our darkness. And what do they say? What have I heard them say is that we need to be positive. We need to just not say all those negative things. We need to say there's no negativity in our lives. We just need to have positive, affirmative messages, make sure our thinking and our speech stays positive. I don't know about you, I must be a terrible New Thought person, because I have such a reaction to that. My heart tells me that instead of denying the negative, the only way to get to the light is to go through it. We cannot say it's not there. It is a part of it. It is a partner. It is the yin and the yang. The way we get to the light is by sitting with our darkness. By, as the Buddha taught us, serving it tea. I see you, Mara. And then breathing in and watching it get up and go. And then we open the window and there is the light. In the rush of our daily lives, as we are zooming around, we let our ability to do that, we let our willingness and our consciousness and our awareness of sitting with our darkness, it just somehow dissipates because we're so busy. Our practices fall away. I asked a group of people the other day what was their daily spiritual practice, and nobody really even had one because we are so busy. But that's what gives us the ability to say, I see you, Mara. The ability to sit with our darkness. The ability to know that we can get through it and that the light will come. We wait and the light comes. So this Yule season, this solstice season, take a minute to look at that plant that says nothing. Find quiet time to reflect, to deepen, to listen. Treasure those times of stillness and rest and quiet. Like a seed waiting for the spring, this time of waiting, this time of reflection, of listening, will bring your light to the world. Now that is a miracle to celebrate. Blessed Yuletide.